Good day, everyone. It will be our pleasure to present and cover our topic, which is the classroom management. Let us first identify the objective, which is compare and contrast the classroom management processes and techniques of typical learners and that learners with special needs. Now, what comes on your mind if we say classroom management? So classroom management is a term used to describe the process of ensuring that classroom lessons run smoothly without disruptive behavior from students compromising the delivery of instruction. So it is the process by which teachers and schools create to maintain appropriate behavior of students in classroom settings. So the purpose of implementing classroom management strategies is to enhance pro-social behavior and increase student academic engagement. And also, classroom management is important because it establishes good learning outcomes and good learning environment to the students. So effective classroom environment establish and sustain an orderly environment in the classroom. It also increases meaningful academic learning and facilitates social and emotional growth. And lastly, it decreases negative behaviors and increases time spent academically engaged. In addition, classroom management systems are effective because it increases students' access by creating an orderly environment that enhances students' academic skills and competencies as well as their social and economic development. And also, through classroom management, we can identify or teacher can identify which students has special needs or those students who are just atypical learners. Let us now move on to classroom management processes. So there are three processes of the classroom management. First is make a plan. Second, establish the best learning. And lastly, conduct a class session efficiently.
First, make a plan. By making a plan, you have a smooth learning outcome and have a clear and concise communication with your students. So, each learning session must have a pre-planned outline that details A. The expected learning result. B. How the teacher is to introduce, demonstrate, or explain a lesson or subject matter. C. The techniques by which a teacher will motivate the class to actively participate in the learning process. D. How the students will appreciate it. And the last one is E. The alternative strategies in each actual learning outcomes that students' behavior are not what had been expected. Establish best learning. It goes beyond smiling and welcoming them. Although the important is we need to find a way or connection with every student. First, excluding human factor, the overall learning conditions and classrooms may be modified visually. And how a room looks and feels have a direct impact on learning. Students with special needs must be given priority. Conduct class session efficiently. Clarify the goals you want your students to achieve and the ways by which they can achieve them. Give your full attention to those students who have special needs and identify the different learning needs of typical learners and learners with special needs.
Good day everyone, I am Junimea Dabdeo and I'm going to discuss with you about the classroom management. management techniques. There are 6 components of classroom management techniques. First is establish relationship with students. Second, positive learning environment. Third, set expectations. Fourth, organize your lessons. Fifth, focus on strengths. And last, 6, behavior-specific praise. Let me discuss it further and one by one. So let's begin with establish relationship with students. We need to believe that you are invested in them and that you know them. It goes beyond smiling and welcoming them. Although important, you need to find a way to make a connection with every student. So as a future educator, it is also important to connect ourselves to our students, not just only as their teacher but also their close friends. Because a strong relationship with our student will long last outside our classroom. Because our student will feel comfortable to share to us their life's experiences and open their doors for us to know them, who really they are, and what are their true identity. While in positive learning environment, as a teacher, you know you need to pay attention to a student's intellectual, emotional, physical, and social needs. You need to set up your special education classroom that aims to meet those needs in each and every student in your group. So as a future teacher also, it is important that we observe our surroundings and become an observant, because it is important that we know our students' intellectual, their emotional, their physical, and social needs, so that we could easily comfort them in the way they needed us, because we didn't know that sometimes we cross or we beyond that limit. So it is important that we must observe first our students one by one, so that we could give the right things that they deserve as their teacher. While in set expectation, there are a few students who are by nature are rule followers, but many who are not rule followers, and some of them with these abilities will also test those expectations. You need to have clear and concise communication with students, routines, and practice. Students know that things bother them in the classroom. So, as a teacher, it is important that we set our own expectation towards our students, so that we could easily connect with them without hesitation, because we all know what our student needs, their routines and practices, because there are some students who are rule follower and there are those students who are not rule follower. So it is important that we take time to set our expectations so that we have a harmonious learning and relationship with our students. And now let's proceed with organize your lessons. As a special education teachers, you know part of lesson design includes how you will accommodate and structure lessons for individual learners. Students need to know the objectives of your lessons and that you expect them to learn. They need to have opportunities to practice and multiple checks for understanding. It is important that as a teacher, that before we finalize our lesson, we should organize it and check from time to time, because not all the time that our classroom is just for ordinary learners. There are times that we tend to accept students with disability because we have the special education. We like to to that field, so that we should be flexible to give ourselves to our student, because it is important that we connect ourselves without hesitation or barrier, because some students could easily understand the lesson, but there are also some students that they had hard times to understand our simple lesson. We didn't know that students particular are have a disabilities, or what we so call the slow learners. So let's proceed with focus on strengths. It is important for both special education teachers and students to remember that everyone is good at something. And if you are struggling with a student, you need to focus on their strengths. So, on focusing strengths, it talks about the importance of being a special education teachers and students. It is important that we always remember that each one of our students have a good at something, because we didn't might know that some of our students doubting themselves and struggling to fight or to learn our lesson. So in that cases, as a future special educator, it is important that we could easily identify those students, so that we could able to give comfort with them and encourage them to just try and able to understand our lesson and fight for themselves. Well, in behavior specific praise, for many kids, the more responses and reaction they get from you for negative behaviors, the more negative behaviors they will give you. Inversely, the more positive reaction they get from you, the more positive behavior you should see. So as a future educator, it is also important that you carry your class in a positive way if you wanted to receive positive feedback also, because as what you show to your students is that also the way they show with you, or they will feedback on you. So if you wanted to achieve a harmonious learning with your students, it is important that you give them the positive way, so that they will return it with you the positive way also. Because it is important that you didn't, as a future teacher, you didn't carry problems in your class, because it might affect your student, not just only yourselves as a teacher, but also the whole class duration. So it is important that we have the positive reactions or positive behavior showing to our students. So that would be the end of our topic. So that would be all. Thank you and God bless.